Welcome to Wellness Wednesday. I just got back from a long walk and threw on my big auntie earrings, my big auntie elk necklace. Not ivories, but elk teeth. Just butchered him and took out his teeth, eh? Anyway, welcome to Wellness Wednesday. I hope your day is going well. I hope that we can take an hour and uplift you. Uplift you. Yeah, raise your, we only got this one life. You should enjoy it. It is your birthright to thrive and to live joy. I'll say that again. It is your birthright to thrive and to live joy. So, welcome to Wellness Wednesday. Native Wellness Institute. Whoa, we was just talking with some of the team. We got 4 trainings scheduled for this week and 5 or 6 trainings scheduled for that week. But you know what I did? So welcome to Wellness Wednesday. Nistu Nidaniko Makoyo Sukoi. My second Blackfoot name, Milky Way, our Wolf's Trail, our Medicine Trail. And I've only had it for 9 years. Before that, it was Okstokoma. But I was cautioned that I'm growing into this name. So it kind of feels weird because I just turned 70 years old. I'm still healthy. I just went on a 2-mile fast walk that way, and then I made a 2-mile or a mile back, and then I just kind of threw some water on my face. I might be a little bit shaggy, but this is just me. I'm just coming to you. I said I'm gonna put on some big auntie earrings because today's theme. And I was thinking about it, and I just don't do no cheap drama, okay? And I'll explain it more. But welcome to Wellness Wednesday, Native Wellness Institute. We've been around since the 1980s, but formally a 501c3, and our executive director doesn't call it nonprofit; she calls it social profit. And I just love Jalene Joseph. You know what? You should love your boss. Don't be talking smack about your boss. I love my boss. And if there's some smack to talk about, we talk about it and we iron it out and we figure it out as a team. We got a real big team. We vet different. It's not about a resume. It's about what the community thinks about you. So if a lot of people want to, work for us. So we want to know what your community thinks about you. Their community that really knows you. You're going, oh shoot. Because what is your reputation? I'm just going to ask you. You might think your reputation is this, but it might be that. And I just crack up because, some people think their reputation, or, you might have a reputation on social media. I'll tell you, if you live on the res, everybody knows your business. If you live on the reserve, everybody knows your business. If you are in any village in Alaska, everybody knows your business. Eh? So why not be transparent? I mean, don't hide. Those that hide, you're only as sick as your secrets. Dang, I remember, I have some secrets. Hey, but I ain't gonna show them. Hey. Yeah, I got a couple rolls because I'm enrolled. I will say, yeah, I love my big auntie rolls. Voluptuous rolls, eh? Anyway, it must be springtime. I swear, I was eating some glacier lilies. Wilbur Fish is one of our teachers. He's out there somewhere, and I hope he's having a good life. But Wilbur, God, about 30 years ago, Wilbur used to take us out, and we'd call it grazing. we just kind of go along and learn about plants. And anyway, he said, when those glacier lilies come out, when they pop up, even those old man flowers, but let's talk one thing at a time. He said, when those glacier lilies pop, put your tobacco out, your Pastascon, your Asema, and say a prayer to those glacier lilies, because they're just going to be around for a couple weeks, eh? Climate change, I don't know, it might be 3 weeks, eh? But he said, those glacier lilies, put your tobacco down and ask those glacier lilies to clean everything inside, to clean your liver, to clean your kidneys, to clean all of your guts, your GI tract. You are only as healthy as your goddamn guts. So don't be putting that crap in there. But anyway, you put your tobacco down and you ask those glacier lilies. But today, I tell you, I had to shed some tears. I asked the glacier lily, please just clean me out. And I was walking fast. I'm trying different. I got slip-on Skechers, where you could run in them, but I was walking really fast, and I just started tearing up, and I realized, sometimes when you have that emotional, it's you have to purge it. So I just cried. I just was walking, and I said, it's too bad to be. I heard so many stories yesterday about missing and murdered women, girls, relatives. And I heard families talk about it's been 9 years since Matthew's missing. I heard relatives say justice for Maddie, little Arden, and then I realized that they call it the vicarious trauma, eh? When you hear these stories, you have to let them resonate in your spirit, like resonate in your soul. And then what should come very quickly is a prayer. Not cussing, it's okay to cuss once in a while when you really got to use the F word, like flexibility. When you really got to use that F word, flexibility. But let that resonate with you and say a prayer. So I found myself, last night we were listening to all the families. We were celebrating Rhonda Grant Conley, Theodora Weatherwax, our old person. Just so many of them were cooking. They made they made turkey. They made real mashed potatoes and real gravy, and they had roast beef. Ooh, real gravy. And they made, desserts, the kind with the marshmallows. They had big old salad. They had beans, just really good beans. And they fed us. They fed us, and they brought speakers. They brought, one of our elders. She's been teaching the language all her life, helping people speak Blackfoot. Cinda Bird and Diane Bird, and they brought the best of the best. Oh my God, Gail Skunkcap. We have a lot of good, Blackfeet can talk it, but he's a really good, you would call it a sophisticated MC. Always tells the history, always uplifts whoever's going to speak. I'm sorry, I guess whatever these tears are, sometimes tears have different makeup. I saw they sting. They sting, when you cry. But as I was walking, I was getting it out. I was letting it go. I, working in the healing field and, my clinical work, working with those that have been sexually assaulted or raped, Native women, LGBTQ, Two-Spirit. other, other different kinds of trauma, and I'll just say, if you've ever had a rejection trauma, if you've ever had betrayal trauma, if you've ever had abandonment trauma, or yesterday it was about injustice trauma, and if that it stays in your body, so you have to get it out, and so that's why I was thinking today, really to protect yourself, and this is the badass auntie. Do ruthless self-care. Ruthless. Sleep good, eat good, walk with your dog, cuddle your kitty, hold your grandchildren. Last night, I think the table we were sitting with, I really like the skunk caps, but they had an 8-month-old baby. Oh, and he only had 2 teeth. And, and babies are just transparent. They're not on social media. They don't care how they look, but he just kept grinning, and you could see his 2 little teeth, and he just kept just looking at my mom, and because they can see, mom would be 88 pretty soon. And so then soon as mom, he's looking at my mom. Okay, this is how you heal your grandchildren. And mom just goes, patty cake, baker's man, roll 'em in, stick 'em in the pan. And the next thing, the 8-month-old, he's got his little hand, patty cake, baker's man, roll 'em in, stick 'em in the pan. And then the rest of the evening, we went on for like 3 hours, listening to prayers, listening to history, listening to families, listening to how we could take action and make a stand. And what do we do when we burn out, when we look for so long for our missing and murdered? How we take care of ourselves. And that whole time, he's just like smiling from his 2 little teeth, And the family was passing him around, and his 16-year-old relative, his these grandparents, were the 16-year-old was a speaker. She's a former Miss Kyle, junior, 1925 to 1926. Oh my gosh. Talk about, seeing in action future leadership. She had the best speech. I put it on Picanny Press. I should put it on my page, but she prepared. She thought about it, and the essence of her speech was, I am that relative. It could be me. It could be your sister. It could be your mother. It could be your grandma. And it all of a sudden you don't see them anymore, and you look for them. You desperately look for them. But her speech it ended, with uplifting us, just saying we all got to take a stand. We got to not let anyone be alone. We got to not let any family that's searching for their missing and murdered are getting justice. We got to be with them. We got to stand by them. We got to show up. We got to put our arm around them. We got to hug them. In her speech, and 16 years old. Jeez. It was just so uplifting. But I just want to, as I was walking, that getting rid of that crying. And I say this as self-care. It might come out as anxiety. I was thinking, do I have any anxiety? I get anxiety when I don't understand technology and I can't make it work. But I use, I smudge it. I haven't smudged my iPhone. I smudged my 5,000 Facebook friends, and I don't know, my thousands of Instagram friends. And then I just say, please, please just help my relatives to live real life, to feel real things for real. And then this butterfly kept flying around my head. You know that you ever have butterflies just fly around your head? And apani, and this butterfly was just flying around, and I always think, and sometimes I haven't seen the dragonflies yet, but there's the butterfly, and then there's some red robins, red-breasted robins. They're building their nest, and then there's some, there's all kinds of birds building their nest, and they don't want you to go by their nest. So I look at them and I think, is that how our ancestors come back for that moment? With that, there's a golden eagle that was flying over. They're building their nest, and I know right where they build their nest there every year in these real tall pine trees about half a mile down. And I could hear, because they talk. There's kind of like this eagle talk, and they're talking bird, eh? Even the geese, they were honking, and I was telling them, it's okay. I'm not gonna, I always tell them in English, and I try, I'm a practicing speaker, just trying to speak our language, and ask them for prayers, and because you don't know, they might be a relative. Whenever I remember a lot of times at the Sundance Lodge, there would be a lot of dragonflies flying around, like a lot, just like the spirits, and they'd be around the reach poles, that'd be around all of that, all of the cottonwood, that'd be, and even when we would be inside behind the barrier dancing and stuff, they'd be around us. And so think about that. Sometimes you can't see this help, but they're your ancestors. Your ancestors are always there to help you. So don't go into that place of aloneness. Just ask them. And that that was Beaver Iron Pipe and Dad and White Quiver, all them, they'd always just say, no gaikimoket, no gaspomoket, pity me, help me. And in your language, or say it in English, however, and you know what works, and this is, I swear to God, is that telepathic. When I got up this morning, I was just shocked. My pet fox was just outside. I mean, it was just, getting daylight, green grass. And it's like he wasn't like hungry or anything, because I always try to give him a little bit of something. But he just came to be. Then the next thing, he was sitting there scratching, just like nobody's business, my pet fox. And I tried, this is a little secret communication. I said in my mind telepathically to the fox, Sinapa, can you please hear my prayers this morning? Sinapa, can you please carry my prayers to the ancestors? Sinapa, can you please help me to do better self-care? Sometimes I get tired, Sinapa. Sometimes I go so hard. I try so hard. I get tired. Okay, Sinapa, can you help me rest good? Can you help me sleep good 8 hours? Remember my dreams. Anyway, I was just telepathically, asking him that. And I woke up, I was waking up. I had a really good dream. And so I have to talk with my family. That's with our dreams, because they know me best. We can talk with those that know you best, interpret your dreams. But I was having a really good dream that this time coming before the solstice on June 20th is just going to be vibrant. I'm going to be in many places, many land. I'm going to see different water. I'm going to see different mountains. And I'm going to be in different structures, because, and then I was just as I was saying that prayer, I get a text from one of my relatives. And of course, she's at the fabric store. I mean, these are kind of like the badass auntie message. I get this text. I'm at the fabric store. Can I use this color to make my Sundance dress? She goes, there's 2 choices. And the next there was 3 choices. So then, I have to, because this is my auntie duty. And they were vibrant. They were vibrant red colors. So she's asking me, she's been really dedicated because she's finding all the answers in her life at the Sundance. And so she's getting ready. So she wants to, anyway, so I looked at the fabric and I said, the one in the middle. It's a form of, it's a red. And that's, yesterday, that's that's even this red shawl right here with the hands. There was a very beautiful Crow woman, 2021, when I went down to Mike Chavez and Kathy's wedding in Billings. She made this shawl for me because I was going to MC Rocky Mountain Tribes, Bill Snell and that's group. But yesterday I took the shawl out so I could remember what all the names I heard of the missing and murdered. And I just hung it up. I hung it up here right next. It's behind the poinsettia, and the poinsettia has been blooming. Isn't that funny? My poinsettia has just been blooming red. I wore red today. I'm putting on my Hawaii clothes. And that was the fabric that my relative was asking me to pick from, because it matters. She's doing things, she's preparing, and I really, a couple years ago, gave her eagle whistle, Ganaxdimada, Brave Dogs, I was able to get a pipe for her, Blackstone, these kind of things. I guess, that's my auntie duties, but today I thought that's an easy auntie duty, to help my relative pick out the fabric to sew her that her Sundance. And then I started crying again because her dad is Glennie. He's my first cousin. He's not here. He's been gone a long time. So I start praying to him. Glennie, help your daughter. Please help your daughter. Please help us. I know you're over there with Papa. I know you're all in that camp on the other side in Big Sandy. Help us, right? Because we're all just trying our best. And some days we're pitiful. And some days, we're boisterous and doing all the things that we need to do to stand up for our people. And so I wanted to share with you today, I was, one of my other longtime friends, a journalist in his 70s. I was explaining to him that, because they're doing away with all the newspapers. And he wrote for our newspaper with Marlene Auger, John McGill for years. He told all the good stories. He even told a story about, it was the author of Businesses Behind Bars, and it was how Native people behind bars still go into business and still work hard, still try to make a living while they do their time. And someone had said, we don't want no pictures of people in prison, but he had given me this box of pictures, and some of them are back to the 1980s, 1990s, and I don't know all those people, so I just randomly post them on Piconey Press, and I say the same thing every time. This is a vintage photo from Glacier Reporter when Marlene Auger and John McGill, journalists, were reporting. Period. Please tell me a positive story about this photo. Thank you. And we've been doing it for a few months, and it's just so beautiful. Like, the Grounds, I had a picture of their grandpa, the original, because there's, Johnny Grounds 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 pretty soon. I love how our people have Junior and Junior 2 and Junior 3 and Junior. And then, I just love Because like last night, we were talking about the database for missing and murdered persons. That we also Sovereign Bodies Institute is also putting their native name, their Indian name, so you could say the prayers for them that we find them. Anyway, it was just such a beautiful evening. So what happens across the United States, and now I even see it spread into Canada. I seen Ramona Bighead. She had this beautiful structure. It was a big red dress, and on May 5th, it's awareness. It's awareness across the whole continent, the whole Turtle Island. Everybody wears red. And that means that's an action step when you wear red and you have the red hand. It's an action step towards healing. And I'm drinking a lot of water with electrolytes. I think they call it stacked water. But the electrolytes before I go walking and then after I go walking. But I was thinking about that yesterday while we were sitting there, because my mom really took time. She wore everything red. She had her red skirt on. She had her red top on. She had her red hoodie. And I had just given her some new earrings that were red skirts, ribbon skirts, and she wore them. And she was just ready to, and Mom, our elders, just like, Diane Bird, and they're in their 80s. And being around a couple of friends in their 90s, they just want to enjoy. Let them enjoy. They want to see us thrive. They want to see us visit. They want to know what you're doing good in your life. They want to know what obstacles. It's just like it's graduation time, and everyone. Mom said, well, I always have 7 or 8 relatives graduating from Browning High School. So I always have to go because I'm proud of all of them. And then, some years, one year we had 15 graduates, so, and then think about all that graduation from high school. We have the Grizz. We got a bunch of relatives graduating in Missoula. And then it's Mother's Day. Oh my God. And then old crazy half acre, rodeo, Hell's half acre. Anyway, they're having a rodeo. There's all this good stuff happening. So getting back to this theme of no cheap drama. And so when some people don't want their photos on there, and so immediately we'll take them down. But think about that, because I don't know the real story. But then we don't need to know the real story. And so what are some examples of cheap drama? And I think about that because like when someone's energy comes towards you and they're going to talk about someone, and talk about them, and they're not there, they're talking about them. That's cheap drama. Because why are they telling you this? Why are they trying to suck you into taking their side? That is so childish. That's freaking childish. Don't be doing that. That's cheap drama. So, just then you could say, excuse me. Or, you're really important to me, but excuse me right now. I got to do this. You don't need to hear that. You don't need to get into that. But I was also thinking about, because you meet some people and they tell you the same old story about, who did them wrong. All of them that did them wrong. They did them wrong. They did them wrong. This negativity. And that negativity, if it's always a negative thing, that has to do with rejection trauma. They've been rejected somehow. Or they feel like it's too bad to be rejected them. So that when you hear that, just in your mind say, no cheap drama. I don't need to get into this. I don't need to hear this anymore. I'm not going to solve this. This is not mine to own. Now I'm going to repeat that. That's not yours to own. Just do the things, I love one of Cheryl Whitehawk, she said, just keep it simple. Just do the next task, one thing at a time. you know? Don't be spinning 20 plates at a time or 10 plates at a time. Just do one thing. Because I was thinking about that as I was coming back, because if you ever come to this area, that there's the trail that I walk. Alex Gladstone told me that it's the old wagon trail. It's the Northwest Trail, because there was no Highway 89. There was none of these asphalt. There was just an old trail that went up, and it was the easiest route, and probably towards Whiskey Gap, they call it. It's, kind of at the Medicine Line, and then you go into Alberta. But as I was walking it, I got this beautiful feeling, almost like it was like a vortex, or it's like an on-scene. So I started, saying my prayers, please, Creator, all our ancestors that went on the wagon trail. Even, I was thinking about some of the Holy Bear woman, at Fort Benton, how she took her children and she walked all the way up to Alberta. She must have went this trail. Then I think about all the stories, and of course there's, some non-natives. They have a lot of stories of this Northwest Trail, Schultz and all. You can read them, but whatever this trail was that I'm walking right now, because it does look like a wagon. It looks like wagon wheels. It's not smooth. And then there's always trees falling down, and they got to cut them. And I was looking at some of the Natus Okotoks, there's like these holy rocks. There's these big rocks, and they're just smooth. And they're sticking out of the ground. So I'll stop once in a while, and I'll put my hand on it, and I'll ask that rock. Just like when you're in the sweat, or these rocks. Mountains are rocks. They're all holy. Just I touch it and I ask it, Nogyakimoka, Nogaspomoka. Help me to be a better person. Help me to hear the good things. Help me to facilitate the healing. Just help me, because I was going, wow, I made it to 70 years old. And I've been sober for 38 years. Woohoo! I mean, I was this old drunk. Been sober for 38 years. I've been sober more years than when I was healing, when I was coming out of the trauma, the epigenetic trauma in my family, the epigenetic trauma to my tribe. They tried to genocide. Our tribe in 1924 here was down to 1,200 people. And on the other side, there was only like 300 around the Piikani, the Brockett area left, and maybe 800 at Kainai. And then there was just around, even less than 1,000 at Sixikai. So they almost wiped us out. They almost genocide. But F you, it didn't work. There's like 48,000 of us now. And you know what? They're praying. They're learning the language. I mean, they're learning how to sew moccasins. They're learning how to make backrests. And even at BCC, sheesh, on the 11th, 12th, and 13th, they're going to be sewing some teepee. They're going to show you how to sew a teepee. So you don't be going to no white guys or no Hutterites sewing your teepee. God dang it. Sew your own teepee. Your own. So I was going, oh my gosh, maybe I should, 70 years old. Yeah, start sewing teepees. Maybe. The sky's the limit. Here I am trying to do self-care. Anyway, I thought, wow, maybe I'll look at what I need. Because I know on the 11th, we have these sobriety gatherings. Krista Crick, good for you. Don Fish, and our sister Dawn, they gather, and they're just called sobriety gatherings, and everyone brings potluck, and we got some good cooks, and then they have a speaker, and then they tell stories. So on the 11th, you're welcome to come to Browning, Montana, because it'd be crowded. It'd be crowded everywhere. There's like wildness in the air. And that's I was just kind of texting with Jolene. I go, what? We got 4 trainings all that next week? Yeah, she said. She was just, so anyway, she was asking me. So I guess I'm heading to Bishop. So I'll be in Bishop, California. Me and Shailene, come see us. I think the 27th, 28th, and 29th of May. I'm going to be in Southern Ute, the 16th of May. And then I'm doing something for the Washoe tribe because they want some healing on the 20th near Reno. Anyway, those are the jobs that I chose. And then our team, my sister Lori and Dwight, they were working with EIN, the environmental people for Native Wellness, and they facilitated all of the tribes working on our environment, around our water rights, around our land back rights, all of them working together. And when you have 40 or 50 entities, you have to team build all the time. You have to come together. You have to listen to each other. And then you have to see which team members got the good energy and can spin 10 plates. And then which team members just want to spin 1 plate. These are just badass anti things I'm just sharing with you. I just hear, and then I heard Wade, Les Painter, Ho Chunk, my longtime friend. He said his wife, Amy, is head of the college now, and his kids are 16 and 17 years old. We were just checking in with each other, and he goes, yeah, I seen Gene and Wade, and I go, right on, because it's like Indian Country talks to Indian Country, Native Dads Network, White Bison, NAFA, the American Indian Cancer Foundation, and NWI. And we talk to the people who want wellness, who want healing. So I know you're listening to this. You're listening to this because you want healing. You want to be a better person, or you want to let go of that SHIT that's not yours. You didn't cause it, you can't cure it, and you can't control it. That's like the epitome. You didn't cause it, you can't cure it, and you can't control it. And I tell you, that was a hard one for me as an oldest child, because just taking care of so many things, even with my children, I have so many children that have the addiction. And I have to let go and let God, not try to run in front of them, trying to make it easier. I have to let them suffer the consequences of their behavior and be there. You have to role model the recovery. And that's why you have to role model no cheap drama. Don't get into the behavior, the fly and monkey syndrome. Don't get into that behavior. That's the one that ran around for the narcissist. And they groom you, and they enjoy you running around acting crazy and confused. That is wild. Don't be doing that. Another example of no cheap drama. I was thinking about that as I was walking, because right now in my recovery, I have to pull it all back. And it really is just about living one day at a time. So, and I'm just sharing this with you as you make decisions. Like, what do you need to do before you go to bed tonight to take care of you? What do you need to do around your house? I mean, I finally was doing the dishes over here. I'm de-hoarding. I mean, I'm living here by myself, and I love it. I love living by myself. So I was thinking, I don't need all those. Why do I need 40 pots and pans? I used to cook for everybody, but I'm not now. So you refurbish, you give away. So I started but things that are emotional, and this is as you get older that you have emotional attachment. You have to let those go. An example. As I was looking at things that I needed to refurbish or give away, and I've always kept because I don't, I'm not Christian. I haven't done a Christmas tree in maybe over 20 years. But there's one ornament that I've always kept, and it lights up, and it's a black angel, because angels aren't all. I guess there's some white angels, say, but this angel is beautiful, and it's just a statue, and it lights up. But I've kept it, but I decided to take it, and I have some sweet pine trees. They're not too far from here, and right now it just smells like fresh sweet pine. And I decided to take that angel out there, and to put it so it's sitting in the tree with the big five. I decorate those trees. They're decorated all year long for Imoi Tapi, the Sasquatch or the Bigfoot. And anyway, I put it out there. It looks beautiful. And now when I'm walking by, I can look at the angel and say, yes, angels. This angel is dark. Got a real dark tan, eh? you know. But then some people give me cedar roses and little cedar baskets. So I took a couple of beautiful cedar baskets, and I said, okay, cedar medicine, cedar, talk to this sweet pine. And I hung it in the tree. So it's like good cedar medicine for flat cedar, talking to sweet pine. And now when I look at it, they're together. And that's some of the lessons, or some of the things I wanted to talk about, is don't go into the cheap drama. Go into the healing, and the healing effort. And that's when you're taking care of yourself and you're taking care of your family. The questions to ask is, will this give my family resiliency and healing? Will this uplift my family? Will this help my grandchildren? It's just like that patty cake, bakers, man. I roll them in, stick them in the pan. My mom, she saw his 8-month innocence. And I know she's praying for him, and on those two little teeth. But she starts singing, and he was just like starting, 8-month-old, just starting he wanted to clap, and he can't speak yet, but he could hear it. He could hear the rhythm. He could hear his grandma and grandpa laughing. He could hear his aunties laughing. And then, his new grandma and his new auntie, we were all just really enjoying ourselves and eating the food that was, it's so precious. It's precious when people cook for you like that. Homemade gravy. Oh, it's just precious. And they served us, and then we listened to the speakers. My hats off to Rhonda Grant Conley. So this in this recovery talk, I want to again invite you to listen to Native Dads Network every Tuesday at 6:30 a.m. Mike Duncan comes on with Native Dads, Sober Fathers. And when I was listening to that and listening to my brother, talk about his recovery and then talk about his role as a sober father, I started saying, what's my role as a sober auntie? Do I get, when people, because, on Messenger, on texts, even on emails now, people ask me deep, deep questions. And I dedicate some time to that. I answer some of them. And so I'm going to answer some of them right now. It is to keep it simple. it is to live this 24 hours the best you can. And it is to hang around, because I just realized I don't hang around drama queens and chaos junkies and drunks. I hang around people in recovery. In Native Wellness Institute, everywhere we go, it's people working on and thriving on their recovery. I was just thinking about, Brother Wade and Brother Gene. They're going to be doing some Native men's retreats, and they want to keep them small because they want to do intense healing. And so I pray for them, and I was thinking about that. So they don't need no badass auntie bossing them around there. I think the men need to heal with the men. Have the men hang around healthier men. And, that's why our societies, our horn societies, are those that took care of the adults. Let the men hang around the men and learn the men's stuff. Let the women hang around the women, the sisterhood. And then welcome the LGBTQ to hang around who they feel most comfortable with. Not reject them, not judge them. Smudge, not judge, and let them choose. And so this answering some questions, because there was a woman who, from the Nevada area, she messaged me and she said, there's this man, and she named him, that works at the border, but we know him from here. He preys on Indian women. And I thought, almost like a man camp or whatever, and that when he gets with these Indian women and he isolates them from her family. And so she wanted me to do something about it. And I thought, Jesus criminy, I do so many things. But then so I prayed about it, and I'm still praying about it. So I went up there and I shot him. No. I went over there and slapped him around. No, don't be preying on Indian. Leave the Indian women alone. Don't be isolating. No, but I thought, I'm just going to pray about it. I'm going to pray about that Indian women get in recovery, that they get in healing, that they get into self-love, that they get into self-care, so they don't go with a-holes like that, so that they aren't groomed by a-holes like that, so they don't fall for their social media. They prey and groom on social media. They find out early who they really are. And so I just started doing the prayers. And so that, I guess in these remaining minutes that we have together, when you, and I wrote it to myself, is that you don't need to cut people off. Just grow. They'll fall off. I'll say it again. You don't need to cut people off. Just grow and they'll fall off. Just take care of your recovery, your sobriety, your codependency, your adult child of alcoholic, your ACOA. Go to your support groups and follow the ones that have long time recovery. Get that sponsor, get that mentor, follow them. And don't, it's not like ask all the time. Is they're modeling to you, let go, let God. They're modeling to you, to keep it simple. Just this 24 hours. They're modeling to you to stay present, not to dwell in the past and get stuck in the past, and not to have so much anxiety about the future. My first counselor, I was intervened with my family and thrown in the Betty Ford Center in 1988, and it started my recovery. I then went to an all-women's program, long-term, because my relapse issues were Indian women, Native women's issues. So I had to I had to model, and I had a really tough counselor. She was a recovering heroin addict. Her name was Donna. And she would always say, Theta, you need friends, not a caseload. Theta, it sounds like you got a caseload. So I've been thinking about that. Do I have a caseload or do I have friends? I'd rather have friends than have a caseload. And then the other thing that Donna, was, and I remember when she told me that she believed I should stay in treatment longer. I knew she was going to say that, and I surrendered. I surrendered. Thank you, Donna. I surrendered. I said, Donna, I'm willing to go to any length to stay sober. I can't go back and live that life, that insanity, that unmanageability, that cheap drama. I can't. Whatever I have to do, and I surrendered and I stayed longer. And as she was working with me, she would say, Theta, you got 1 foot in the past and 1 foot in the future, and you're pissing on the present. She said, just stay in the here and now. Stay in the here and now. Be present. So as I was walking and the butterflies are flying around my face and the pet foxes, and I could hear the water. I could hear the glacier water. I could smell the sweet pine, and I could eat the glacier lily. And the dandelions, you can eat the dandelions too. That's cleansing. As I was staying present, I just walked really fast, and next thing I knew, it was 45 minutes, and I was walked fast, and that's my goal, because in order to stay mobile, you don't have to run a marathon, you don't have to be an extreme, you don't have to, hop off horses and do Indian relay. Just exercise 20 minutes, 30 minutes each day. Walking fast, holding up, and so I was walking a little bit fast, and I was breathing. Thank you for this fresh mountain air. Thank you for that sweet pine smell. Thank you for Native Wellness Institute. As I was texting Jolene and deciding, to go to Bishop, taking and praying for the rest of our team. I always pray for Levina Louie. I always pray for Jean Tagabon. I always pray for Wanda Batchelor. I always pray for Shailene Joseph. I always pray for Will Penn right now, as he's going back to his homeland, because he's now moved into that position where when they have a funeral, he has to take care of the business. I pray for him. And then I pray for all of my cousins, my 65 first cousins, and then I pray, I said my second cousins, now I have fifth cousins. I was at a baby shower the other day, and I go, oh my gosh, I've lived and I have fifth cousins, and they just were born. It's like, all your cousins, all your kinship. And then, in recovery, you got your family of choice. Mike Duncan is not my blood, but he's my nephew. And now he's married. And now, so Robin is now my niece. So I pray, I love her son. 18 years, never drank in his whole life. I pray for love, Duncan. It's like, just start. That's when you're saying your prayers. Just be present and pray for the people that lift you up, that encourage you, that give you good words, that give you good hugs, and they're sincere. And the ones that, that are hanging out and not talking to you and might have a jealous bone, ignore them. No need to cut people off. Just grow and they'll fall off. No need to cut people off. Just grow. And in that growth, your mind, body, and spirit. I was thinking about transcendental meditation, NWI, a lot of our team. I know Thosh still does it. And I know Jolene, and I still do the 20 minutes where I clear my mind and I say a mantra. I still do, my sister Lori's got all these certifications now in mind healing. She's got And that works too, that counting backwards to clear your mind, counting backwards from 20, 19, 18. And I swear when I start doing that, I fall asleep before I get to 1 peacefully. And I sleep throughout the night. We just did brain spotting with Steve Sawyer. Thank you, Steve. I still am embracing that. I believe in you, Steve Sawyer. I believe in brain spotting. I believe in Michelle Moss with EMDR. I know it has worked well for me. So now I just look at it. But I was just saying, in my badass antiness, what works for me is doing trust building with the community. And if there's conflict, we need to go through some kind of conflict resolution, some forgiveness. So the words that one of the things, forgiving, work on forgiveness, lateral kindness. Oh, and just forgive. It's let it go, unless it keeps popping back up, and then go through the resolution to that, the conflict resolution. But forgiveness, forgive the people of the past, forgive those past relationships, and whether they're alive or they have passed on, forgive what happened, and just remember the good stories. Just remember the good things that forgiving. I pulled out my meditation book. It's called, and I love it because it's Ann Wilson Schaaf. It's called Meditation for People Who Worry Too Much. I've been reading this, and at least the pages are still here. So I always do a review, like, where was I 20 years? Because I've been not to worry, because when you're praying, you can't worry at the same time. When you're praying, you cannot worry at the same time. So I'm doing meditations. I'm planning, to go to my meetings. I have a gratitude friend. We always text, but he texts like 20 things for he's grateful for. Sometimes I just have texts and pictures. Do a gratitude list. Do a gratitude list. Like right now. Say what you're grateful for. Just simple things like, I'm grateful I got electrolytes that I can put in this water, that I can get a whole case of this water, or then I can drink this electrolyte. I should show you some of the water outside. Just as I've been living here 31 years. Yes, oh my gosh, 31 years. Sober, and I was in early recovery because I only had 7-8 years when I first moved here. But now, look at the green grass. The green grass is just popping up. The water is clear. The water is blue. And then right down, I was talking about the glacier lilies. There's always a big patch of glacier lilies right here. See, they're just starting to come up. And I always sit here with the glacier lilies and eat. But I was just wanting to show you the water. This is where I swim every day. It's cold glacier water right now. I'm not gonna jump in and scream. But I just wanted to, go and put your tobacco in the water. Put your pistasque on. I've been growing my own tobacco. Get some tobacco seeds. Put your tobacco down. And the tobacco is the highest offering. It's the highest offering we can give to Creator, to Tankashala, Akpadadia. Mahio, Ishtabatabio. And when you put out that tobacco, ask specific. Just ask it, that God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. When you put that tobacco out in the water, when you pray to that's the east, the Ibisu Watsis. When you pray to the south, the west. When you pray to Ninastical, when you look up, Chief Mountain is up that way. When you pray to, when you have all, and thank you all those that have beaver bundles. Wouldn't that be a trip if my beaver just swam by right now? Because sometimes the beaver just shows up when you least expect it. He swims right here. Usually it's early morning. Early morning. Swims around that little bend. And he swims in the evening now. About 8:30, just before the two beavers will swim by. Thank you for all of the beaver bundles that are opening. Thank you for all of the sun dances that are planned. Thank you for the Ocons that will be happening. Thank you for all of the ceremonies. And thank all of you who, every day who, sing the songs and talk your language. And thank you everyone who, I just ask special prayer for my mom. She's in good health, but I know she's getting older. I know I'm getting older. I don't think I'm going to die today. Not today. I don't think I'm going to die today, but say prayers for your elders that are getting older. Be good to them. Feed them. Talk to them. Just sit with them. Hold their hand. Walk with them. Hold their hand. Listen to their stories. And even if they repeat the same story 2 or 3 times, just listen again. Because it's important for them to tell that story again. Listen to their Napi stories. Listen to their Iktomi stories. Listen to their rabbit stories. Listen to their coyote stories. That's the indigenous wisdom that you're looking for. It's not in some book. It's with your elders. Sit with them. And every story they tell you has a lesson. And it's so beautiful. That's all we have to do. So, don't be doing that cheap drama. Do the serenity. Do the... Yesterday, me and my mom, we both took a nap. She said, Nellie, just lay on my bed. Cover up. So I took a nap for about 40 minutes. And she laid on the couch. And it was just, we were getting up. She goes, see, you'll be better. Because we knew we had to go maybe late as 9 or 10 at night yesterday. So we both took a nap together. That's the most wonderful feeling. And then we lit a smudge. She was yawning, big, waking up. She goes, oh, good. Now we're going to have a really good evening. Let your elders nap. You take a nap. Don't be, anyway, I guess, went over a few more minutes. I looked at the time. So, welcome to Wellness Wednesday, Native Wellness Institute. We're going strong. Our bottom line is to keep the teachings of our ancestors alive. I'm just a team member, but I just wanted to share some good stuff with you today. Whatever, I hope that something I said, because when I'm dead, you better remember something I said. when we're dead, all your elders are dead. Remember something we said. So, welcome to Wellness Wednesday. We're here every week just to try to uplift, to try to give some words so that your life goes better. I just can feel that, son. I think I'm going to make me a real good tuna fish sandwich, on sourdough. But I just, I'm looking, I can't see all of you. I'm seeing, some of you on, Donna Duncan Anderson. I'm just seeing some of the names, but thank you for coming to Wellness Wednesday. Again, you can go to www.nativewellness.com and you can request me or any of our team members to come. We're booking up. So, we're going to have a sobriety encampment here. I think I'm going to do my best. I'm speaking on June 17th at the sobriety encampment. Krista Crick is putting it on. And my nephew, Sheridan, all of them, they're putting it together. I'll be there, but you're welcome to come to our sobriety camp. They're going to do old time stories as well as your sobriety story, all that whole week in Browntown, Montana. So with that, I'll see you next Wednesday. Kita kito matsuno.